I feel like I've seen enlightenment, and I thought it was going to be about levitating and telekinesis, and it's actually just about an increased awareness of how annoying I am. All right, so the thing is, we've recorded many Projector and the Flails in the last couple months. We've released 2, I think. And I have a good feeling about this one.
We have a lot of B-side takes for a B-side record whenever we're ready.
Yeah, we've just been in a funky, seems to be turning a corner, but just kind of a funky adjustment period. And it doesn't make for good podcasts. They've either been dreadfully boring or kind of sounds like we're fighting with each other.
Hibernation's weird too. I feel like I'm just in that like internal mode, so it's kind of hard to do content or podcasts and stuff. It's feeling difficult, at least.
I feel like we crawled through the winter on the podcast last year.
Did we?
I think so. Because remember, that was like peak feel-free depression.
Right.
I think you started smoking fake weed around this time.
Fake weed. Oregano.
You started doing the hemp.
Yeah. Hibernation is hard for me sometimes. It tends to be when I go back.
Yeah, I have this thing wherever I'm at. I think we all do this, but like wherever I'm currently at, I think I'm going to be there forever. In my old age, I'm starting to know that's not the case. But so when you don't feel artistic, you go, I have to do something so I can feel artistic again. Or,
it's going to be like this forever. I've lost it.
Yeah. And then equally, when things are great, you go, oh my God. I mean, I literally thought after the wedding, like, we this is all just great. I've let my guard down. Everything's just awesome. And then reality's
like, have you ever grieved like this?
So, yeah.
You're feeling good right now, though.
I am feeling good right now. We go to the mountains for our anniversary of meeting. And we'd already decided to keep that anniversary, thank God, because the wedding is now the last time I saw my dad.
Yeah,
so
good.
There goes that. We did it a couple weeks early, and I'm really glad we did. Most of my grief struggles have been, I'm very comfortable being sad. I'm a Pisces sun and moon. I'm very comfortable having feelings. I've worked through all that kind of stuff. I'm comfortable with loss. I mentally am well equipped. I have a lot of tools in my toolbox, but my nervous system has been wrecked. And I don't think I had the categories of reason for that yet. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I just kept saying it felt physical, but I was experiencing mood swings, which I've experienced a little bit with perimenopause, but that's typically not my thing. I'm typically pretty even-keeled mood. Collapse, absolute numbness. I've never experienced numbness, I don't think, in my life. And that is very unpleasant. And just a general dysregulation. And so it did help me. I don't usually use ChatGPT as a therapist, but it did help me as I was kind of trying to describe what I was experiencing, to understand that my nervous system is remapping my entire sense of safety without this central safety node. He was a parent, but he was also my safe parent. And he was, just a huge the only safe adult in my childhood. And so, once I kind of understood that, things kind of started to come in focus. And not I'm wanting to be better. I still cry every day or whatever. I'm not worried about the sadness or the whatever, but not feeling like myself has been really hard. And I understand that this is ego death and I'm going to be a different version of me. I don't know. I have a lot of space for all that. And I've grieved before, but, I was very dysregulated, and it might come back. So I don't want to talk about it like it's past tense, because every time I think I've turned a corner, it's wait, there's more. But someone told me, someone in this community, and whoever it was, thank you, when he first died, said, in a couple months, take a trip. Just trust me, it'll help. And that's not why we did it, but that was in the back of my head. And I have taken trips, but our trips have been back to Delaware. And then I took Lily to New York City for one day, which I don't recommend if you're already feeling in fight or flight. I already hate it there. And so anyway, it felt like my nervous system just needed to hook up to someone else's Wi-Fi or something. And I think, I was talking to Z yesterday, and they said the nervous system works through associations. Because I was I feel like every environment I'm in is associated with my dad's death. The last place I saw him was here. I found out he died here. The only other places I've gone is an Airbnb where I went for Christmas. There I also went for his funeral, and my stepmom's house, which was my dad's house, So it's I can't escape the surreal, whatever. And so I couldn't get my feet on the ground. I just felt like I've been trapped in a dream for months. And I'm fine with however long that needs to take. But I don't know. I felt really, I felt like I could, I had clarity for a minute, just in general, not on the death. It's so hard to describe, because then people want to give me advice about death. And I'm no, I have I don't even know how to describe it. It feels like it's not even about his death. It feels like it's about the trauma of him dying or something. He's still here. I can talk to him very easily. I have a very healthy relationship with death and loss and things happening outside of my control. I'm very the things I talk about on podcasts, I don't throw out the window the second something bad happens to me. So I mentally have a lot of like stability.
The thing we were talking about on the trip at one point, the potential genetic connection to when you lose a parent, not only like psychologically, he was really like, he's your support and was your safe parent, you know? And so that's hard to lose somebody that is that emotionally, but then the genetic different, like somebody you're that connected to leaves the realm that it changes your genetics, and that would be nervous system activation is where it's coming out. It's so interesting to think about.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens when I lose my other parent, where it's just kind of a really different scenario. You lost your dad.
Yeah, and it was odd. It was like, I will say, this could be the genetic thing. Like the idea of him dying, we've become so comfortable with because he was sick for so long and very close. And then it was drawn out, him dying. And he kind of chose, at the end, it was his choice to stop the drugs he had a lung transplant. So you take drugs to not make the body reject the lungs. And at a certain point, it got so bad that like they basically said, this is the last thing we can do is just keep you morphined up. When you're ready, you can stop. So it was very controlled. He did everything he wanted to. He said bye to everybody. And then it was like, okay, let's sit down for a day and just amp up this medication to make him eventually just die. And so there was no trauma in that sense. It was like, we knew it was going to happen. And leading up to it, was like, this is probably going to be a piece of cake. Like, I don't have a good connection with him. I've already processed a lot of that. But him actually leaving was more sad than I expected. But it did not last very long. It was a couple weeks. I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I did pick up like the idea of us, when we lose a parent, we'd continue their karmic cycle in some way.
Yeah.
He died from smoking, and like a month after he died, I picked up smoking like I've never done before. I was like smoking a pack a day, which is notoriously what he did when he got sick. But that's when there was like this other heavy grief that came in with him, like missing him and losing him, that I wasn't expecting. That looking back now, I was like, oh, it could have been a genetic thing that I wasn't really aware of. So psychologically, it was the same thing. I was comfortable letting go and like fine with death. But it did still come, even though our relationship was not very good, you know, similar to you and your mom.
So here's something, I'm not trying to correct you. I'm pointing this out because I think it's something that's interesting, but Mark has no concept of time. Yeah. So I've been studying his life for years so that I can put it into a linear thing. So he has some idea of what happened when your dad died in the summer of 2013. You didn't start working with his music until 2016, 2017. You didn't start smoking cigarettes until you started working with that music.
Okay, so a month was a wrong assumption. It's so crazy though, because when I think back about that part of my life, it does all mesh into this one experience. Realistically, it was over a span of like 5-6 years. But it feels like that all happened in 1 year's time.
Yeah, but what's funny is like, I think he died at the height of the band. You guys were about to put out the second album.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And then right before you met.
Right before.
Yeah. And so you were probably too busy to even deal with it. But what I find interesting is that the smoking cigarettes aligned with you working with his
the music.
tapes.
So in my head, that's what it is. It was a month after starting to use his tapes.
Yeah.
I had been dabbling in it. I found all the tapes after he died, and then I put them all on my computer, which that was right after kind of him dying. But then we did go on tour forever. And so I then started slowly making beats and stuff on the road with it. But until we had a break, then I went into like
you bought a
creation
reel and everything else.
And like really went in hard.
Yeah.
And made music with it. And that's when this like this depth came through. Because I think I felt connected to him in making that music. I remember moments like it being really transcendental when I made something with like a whole song with his strings that I felt very connected to him, like he was in the room a couple times.
So a lot of his strings are in the album Safe, which I'm just is like interesting that it's
primarily
called Safe.
they were all songs that were started from ideas with those strings and the samples.
Dad was was like a marketing guy, and so he had a bunch of reel-to-reel recordings of things he had made for advertisements and also some of his poetry, but there was a lot of like strings that Mark was.
Yeah, I found it was like a
super
gold mine for musician that samples. You find this box of tape that's like reel to reel, so it's old and there's no copies anywhere. And then he had copyright to a lot of it, which was also cool for a sampler. You know, you don't have to go through the nightmare of clearing samples and stuff. So yeah, and I think in my connection to him, it was like him being because he was very proud of me in the band. Almost too proud. He loved telling everybody that he was my dad. But the fact that I was doing that with his music, he was like very proud, and we connected finally in a way that I never did with him when he was alive.
Yeah, and then you started smoking cigarettes at 33 years old.
Yeah,
when he died of COPD.
He died of COPD, and it was something I was always avoiding because of that. You know, your dad dies or is like handicapped from it. Probably not going to do it. But it was just, and I remember thinking it when I was smoking. I was like, dude, you're smoking a pack a day already. What are you doing? And it was like I was being automatically led through it. I could not do it.
Yeah.
And then as I was giving it up, it dawned on me. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to give this up like he never did, which killed him. That's why I have the karmic thing as an option. I don't have to do that necessarily, but I realized as I had picked it up and finally felt the bite of the addictiveness of it, that I was like, this is hard to stop chemically. That was like a nice challenge to try to overcome it, as he never did, and kind of high five. I made some music with your stuff, and now I'm passing this on, letting go of it. It's like he gave me the music. I gave him the freedom of the karma.
Yeah. Lord help us when my mom dies. I feel like I already picked up her karmic death. I did meth.
Yeah.
I handled that one while she was still alive.
And you kicked it before she kicked it?
Yeah, dude, my mom did meth for 25 years.
That is crazy. And she's still...
She did meth until she was almost my age. She was like 44.
Yeah.
Or no, wait. I guess she was like 40. My dad got sober at 44. Which I'm like, where do y'all find the energy? I can't handle if I eat something too sugary.
Yeah.
I'm fucking wrecked the next day. Y'all were doing meth and drinking a 12-pack a day. Anyway, so something that really like, and maybe this can be a conversation for another day, but we've been talking a lot about the frequency that you live on, which sounds like new age nonsense. So I'm going to try to ground it. There is no like objective physical reality. There is our experience of the reality, which is a reflection of our internal experience. And then we sync up with other people on a similar frequency, right? And I'm realizing that frequency that we're talking about is the nervous system. So when we are like trapped in reactivity, the algorithm like gives you things to react to. Not to say nothing bad ever happens. This isn't about good or bad, but it's just the nervous system, understanding the nervous system and being able to sense it as a sense, as input, I guess. Like now, since doing nervous system work in 2023, which this would have been a completely different experience if I had not done nervous system work, it would have been much worse. When I go into fight or flight, I can feel it. I can feel the shift in my nervous system. And then I'm able to go, is there actually a threat, or did my system just sense a threat? It's like a dog, right? We were talking about this. Like, you can have a dog to protect you, but if your dog freaks out every time someone walks past the house that's not protecting you, it's just making a bunch of noise, right? And so the nervous system can be stuck in a state of fight or flight when there are no actual threats. And then you can end up in a state of like reacting to your external experience, which then creates more dysregulated internal experience, which then, gives you more externally to react to. And so I think in the cross of Sleeping Phoenix, if your nervous system's jacked, you're fucked. I mean, you're going to live in a hell of kind of your own creation because you're not able to actually discern what's happening, get out of that reactive state, actually be able to think clearly enough to strategize what the best thing is to do. And as these shocks keep coming, people who don't understand their own nervous system, you're just going to kind of see them over there just like shadow boxing nothing because they think it's outside of them, And so I've been on about the nervous system for a couple years now, but what I realized when we went into a different environment is what technology the nervous system is and how bringing my nervous system into another, like first becoming aware of the fact that, okay, my nervous system is trying to remap. I think I need co-regulation. I think I need to really kind of cut out, I have a couple friends kind of trapped in reactivity right now. And I'm like, you're going to have to go do that somewhere else. I'm trying to kind of remap my sense of safety. I'm buffering right now. I can't have this in my energy field. And then going and kind of taking the body to a different environment so it can start to create new associations,
Yeah.
I love this house, but this is like currently kind of hard to escape. The last time I saw him was here, and that I found out the moment I
the
found out
timeline shifted so hard
suddenly died. Yeah.
Here.
It definitely would be very different if it was a diagnosis.
Yeah.
The experience I'm currently having seems to be very informed by the suddenness, the actual like kind of trauma point.
It's so interesting. Yeah. I think that like thinking the nervous system as trying to make it to become as common of a sense as like taste and smell, like you're really sensitive to it. And the idea that that's the main mechanism that allows you to like control your hyperdimensional vehicle. Like what frequency are you on that's the main mechanism to be able to like dictate where you're going.
Yep.
But it is so subtle that like we take for granted, like being in a reactive state and then getting angry about reality happening around you. It's like something in the physical, it's their problem or whatever, or even recognizing hey, these aren't my people on my frequency, but your nervous system brought you to them.
Yeah.
To process
you're
something.
You're tethering to them, so they're
tethering.
on your frequency somehow.
And it makes me think even about the other aspect of dogs and animals. Like they're primarily looking for safety with a pack leader or like the household through the nervous system. So like, everybody says animals read energy. And I remember learning with my dog that was like hyper aggressive with other dogs through Caesar that it was like, this isn't the dog's problem, it's your problem. And there's something wrong with you that's making the dog feel like it needs to defend and protect you when it comes across other dogs. And so now looking back, it was nervous system dysregulation. Like a certain attack had happened with the dog. It freaked me out. And then every time I saw another dog, I was getting into that state because I was preparing for it, which the dog read as, cool, I need to do it again.
Oh, shit.
And so it immediately like would create the problem. And I had to fight to figure out how to be comfortable when another dog came up. But it's not just thinking it, it's like embodying assertiveness for the dog so that it knows like, hey, everything's cool here. You do not need to attack. And once I could do that, it took a lot of practice because it's so subtle. The problems started to go away. It became really manageable. And then finally it went away. And that dog was playing with other dogs by the end of its life. And so it was all me. And that's, you can't lie to an animal. Like when someone comes in the house that has like a jacked up nervous system, they might be performing very nice. the dog can always like suss it out, and it's always giving the owner signs. It's like hanging around them a lot, sniffing them, or a little bit aggressive. Animals can feel that, and so it would make sense that when you consider a cat being able to see into other dimensions and hyperdimensional, that they are doing that through reading energy, which is, for us, it's expressed like via nervous system. It
so
might be
much communication in the ether and stuff, I'm realizing, is just the nervous system. Like, it's very loud to me now when someone's fawning.
Yeah.
It like literally does not matter the words they're saying. There's an energy to fawning, which is it's a nervous system state. So you got flight, fright. Oh my God, words have been so bad. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And freeze is kind of dissociation. Fawn is like people pleasing. Fight is obvious. And then flight would be like avoidance. And it's so fawn was a go-to for me in dissociation, but now when someone's like fawning, it's so loud in the ether to where I'm like, what is it? What do you got going? I don't need this.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
It's like that thing too. I think when we talk about vibe, like that person's vibe's really good. It usually is a balanced nervous system.
Yeah.
When you don't like the vibe of somebody, it's like it all breaks down to something's up with their nervous system. It's activated, it's defensive, or it's fawning, or it's avoidant. You're like, I don't like this person's vibe.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because a lot of times people with like personality disorders are charismatic, which feels like a balanced nervous system. So I think that's what attracts people to that like confidence.
Yeah.
You have to really be able to feel that's actually deeply insecure.
Because some people are really good with words. And it's the same thing when you're like reading or watching content on social media. Somebody's talking all the talk about spirituality, but they're super activated and pissed in an argument and they're not calm. It's like you have to be able to sense that. You can go, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't trust everything this person's saying because their reality is a little bit distorted because I can tell they're activated in some way. But if you're not paying attention to that, everything they're saying might sound exactly right and like, oh, this is true. This isn't. This is somebody I can trust what they're saying because they're embodying it and they're living it. If that's not true, then it's like, well, it could be distorted.
Yeah, and I think there's this like concept that nervous system regulation is never going into any of these states.
Right.
And so I do want to clarify that. That is kind of something that gets weaponized by, if you've ever dealt with a really abusive person, they knock you into reactivity and then so that they can frame you as crazy. And the system does that as well. I know multiple people who've had their kids taken by CPS and that gets weapon. If you freak out, which is like perfectly fucking natural. If someone takes your kids, they're like, see, you're out of control.
Right. You're dangerous.
And so I think I define nervous system regulation is a working understanding of your nervous system and an awareness of it and an awareness when it's in certain states.
Yeah. It's not perfect balance all the time.
Yeah. You're not a fucking robot.
Right.
And so I think sometimes like that's pushed as regulation as like you never have feelings or whatever. But I think understanding, oh, I'm in a reactive state. Let me hold off on this communication. Or even like you and I have like worked through some funky stuff since I've been in this nervous system state. And everything is just a lot more productive when I can identify the state that I'm in when I'm in it. So it's like, I am feeling reactive right now. So maybe whatever I'm assuming about you is not 100% reactive or 100% accurate. Or this was so funny. So we were out to dinner and we ordered scallops to share. And we'd had a couple experiences in the last week where we went out to what used to be my favorite restaurant, but I can only ever get one thing at every restaurant. And they had changed the recipe. You still really like the restaurant. I don't like it anymore. And so at that restaurant, they had just done something just egregious to the entree that I liked. And so I had complained about it, and it was a bummer for you. So anyway, flash forward a week later, we get the scallops, and I take a bite. Fawning is so subtle. I take a bite, and I go, well, first, they were like not seared. And so the first thing I said is like, they don't really like sear anything here, because they had not seared something else. And then I was like, God, you sound like an obnoxious person who complains, which I'm not like that at all. And so then I was like, plus you complained about those tacos, which I'll die on the hill of those tacos. But you complained about those tacos, and now you're just complaining about the sear. And so then I go into a fawn thing, all completely projecting onto you. You've said nothing. And I'm like, you better like these fucking scallops. It's all subconscious. I'm not consciously thinking this. So I take the first bite and I go, wow, these are really good. And as I'm chewing the first bite, I'm like, what does this taste? I don't really like this, but it's all going very fast, And I was like, tastes like the ocean, which if you know me, I don't like anything that tastes like the ocean. But I'm fawning, so I don't really know what's happening. I'm on autopilot. And so then I take a second bite, and the scallops are bad. Like, they're bad. They're rotten. They taste like the strongest ammonia. And I swallow the second bite because I'm in this fawn thing of like, I have to make sure that Mark knows I'm not actually going to complain at every restaurant.
And I'll just get deathly ill.
And I'll just get, a foodborne illness instead. And so then, but there was like, then I was like, why did I eat that? The first one tasted bad. Why did I eat the second bite? And then I was like, oh, I was fawning, and then was able to kind of retrace it. But for most of my life, I did not understand the nervous system. So I think part of like understanding the difference between your quote unquote ego and you is like understanding all these like defense mechanisms and stuff that you've like picked up along the way to stay safe with other people.
Yeah.
And so what is really just you being like, man, you're being a little bitchy at these restaurants is like the extent that it would be if it would be anything. But my nervous system really thinks like someone being displeased with me in the slightest is a threat to my life. And so that's how fast I will go into a fawn. And so I'm like, I can't believe I just ate bad scallops so that you didn't think I was,
Bitching
after
again.
6 years, I had become can I talk to the manager, Yeah. And then you were almost like, we don't have to tell them about the scallops. And
I went into but then I was like, well, no, they need to know, the restaurant needs to know the scallops are bad in case anybody else orders them. And also the thing that I immediately, my people-pleasing fawning bitch ass goes to is, okay, well, we're not going to eat these, because I smelled it too. I was like, woo, that is ammonia. There's no way I'm eating that. But I feel embarrassed. I hate leaving like full plates, especially at a restaurant. Like you order something, have one bite and leave it. It's like the most offensive thing to me, especially if it's meat. I get into this like, oh, we're wasting the animal. Somebody needs to eat it. Even if it's bad, it's like, I'm thinking like, well, like if something tastes bad, I usually just eat it, because I'm like, I'd rather be respectful and like not let it go to waste.
Listen, as all of these regulatory agencies collapse before our eyes,
it's not safe. Yeah, it's not safe.
You're gonna.
Well, so in this moment, that's what I was battling with. I was like, oh wait, let's just leave it. It was almost like, let's just leave right now. Yeah.
Let's cease to exist.
Let's say there was an emergency and we can't eat, but
I never want to send anything back.
Wait, no, we need to say something, and you might get sick, so like we need to say something. And I overrode that, But for a moment, my mind was definitely trying to figure out an out where we didn't have to disappoint in my eyes, disappoint the waiter or the manager.
Yeah.
Which is so stupid, but.
Yeah, you and I together, we're a real.
Sometimes we can be a real fawning duo.
People like us need to be with like with an asshole with no empathy or whatever, so that we can survive the world. You and I together is a real, like, if there is ever a manager that needs to be spoken to, we're like rock paper scissoring.
Yeah, scissoring. That thing where that trauma comes from is my dad was very confrontational at restaurants, grocery stores,
the worst, yeah.
Public people, and I hated that as a kid. I always felt so embarrassed because I had many times him stop the whole restaurant, and the whole restaurant's looking at us because his burger wasn't the right temperature or something, that is where that comes from. And it's not always, if I'm feeling good, like I will, if it's something like dangerous, I'm going to say something, but I definitely still deal with that. Like if I'm knocked off my square and that happens, I immediately habituate to fawn and just avoid the conflict at all costs. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong,
Yeah. Telling them that their scallops are bad is doing them a favor.
Totally.
So
and that's
that
where
was
I
pretty
landed
easy.
quickly. I was like, no, we got to say something. I don't care how awkward it is. You're going to get people sick here. And luckily you didn't get sick.
Yeah, I found out a life hack, I guess. Who knows if it's true, but if you take a antihistamine, it might help you. It said you would have to eat like a plate of those scallops to get like super sick, but I don't know how anyone could eat a plate. I mean, it tasted horrible.
You smell horrible.
I couldn't believe I got 2 bites down. Anyway, pretty interesting downloads I'm getting right now on the topic of nervous system work, and also just kind of looking at everything through that context.
It makes so much sense when you were describing it that way, that it's like the center of your energy output. And if we understand the reality is like responding to your energy, it makes so much sense. Like that's the mechanism to figure out if you actually want to be able to, control your reality. But it's very easy to bypass because it is, I feel like it's, for me, for you recently, like learning where that sensitivity is like trying to, it's like you're blind in it, like learning what the feelings are and correlating it to the nervous system. Trying to practice it to get it to a place where it's like a sniff or a smell or a taste. It's that quick.
Right. You have that
so
level
subtle.
of awareness. Yeah. Also learned a decent amount about co-regulation and, the purpose of like having relationships with, intimate relationships, but also friendships with people so you can borrow their nervous system to like kind of resync yours in situations like this. And I am someone who has always been, I'm hyper sensitive to other people's bad moods in a way that's probably kind of annoying. You don't have to confirm that, but I now, as someone who's been experiencing a fair amount of bad moods, which is not typically the thing, I've just learned a lot about how the nervous system works, and you can almost like borrow someone else's nervous system to sync up. But this is when it becomes very important when you're in this vulnerable position, like after a loss. It's very important that the nervous systems, are syncable. And also has helped me. I'm really glad that this happened to me before you experienced this loss, because I feel like I probably wouldn't have, I don't think I would have been great at helping you co-regulate, because I have a hard time not taking other people's bad moods personally. And now that I've experienced it, it is just like the swings in and out of fight or flight and the collapse and the everything else. Like largely that's been out of my control. It's not even connected to thoughts. And I just kind of need you to be around and be regulated, because I can kind of like, grab a hold of that and kind of retrain my nervous system. And when you get mood swingy, I just kind of avoid you. And I think because I didn't have the context of this kind of grief, I think I probably would have been a shitty partner to you through this, where now I feel like, now I know to like sit still and give you something to hold on to while you try to, it's almost like I have to learn how to walk again. It's like I have to find my internal sense of safety again. And it's all not mental. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like not narrative based. It's not for me at least. It's not narrative based. It's not stories. It's not sadness. I thought, because the sadness is there and that's fine. that's just probably going to be a part of my life now. You know, there's a melancholy that I'll carry with that loss, and I'm fine with that. It's not my first loss. It's my first loss that completely knocked my feet out from underneath me for an extended period, you know. Anyway, yeah.
Thank God you'll be ready for me when it happens to me.
Yeah. That's what's important.
It's interesting to look at it not as like a bypass, but I just observing it always from this macro place. And even in the sense that we were talking about before, when the matrix is like activating your nervous system, and you know, with the CPS story, it's like, it's of course normal to get activated in some senses with the matrix, but being able to use that activation as a test to go, okay, wait, there's something going on here, and try to search for it. In a big sense, it is like a gift to get you to learn your nervous system. And so some of these things, like with the depth of this grief and feeling, is like in the long run, you do come out on the other side with like a lot more knowledge and skill to be able to, you know, take hits and know what to do. And I think that's like, again, not focusing on it as a bypass. In some sense you could, but it gives meaning to all of it. And as far as the matrix and the way it's unpredictable with how we can get activated in any given day, being able to see it through that lens, for me, helps take off the burn of it. And I know, okay, wait, I can control something here that is out of alignment. That's why I'm experiencing it this way. Let me learn that, and then you prevent it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the matrix, and I would say overtly, consciously, and purposefully, those in power, currently in power, the systems in power, are purposefully. A lot of times I'm like, I don't think this stuff is like intentional, like consciously intentional, but I would say consciously intentional. There is an effort to keep people in a reactive, disempowered state right now.
They're professionals at the nervous system. They know how to just doctor that shit and keep you activated.
Yeah. And so, and there's also this idea, this like subconscious idea that being endlessly reactive means you care more.
Right.
Than someone who is still. Someone who is still says, and I think what I want to equate it to is a zombie apocalypse or something very foreign to what we have understood to be reality. And I think that's a good place to set our expectations, because things are going to get crazy, right? So, or let's say AI has shown up and taken over the planet. Like aliens have shown up and taken over the planet. I'm saying AI because that fucking video game you're playing.
You mean like Arc Raiders?
Like Arc Raiders. That's where I want people to like imagine something complete, because that's what's happening. Something completely different than what you have ever known to be true is actually trying to take over the realm right now. Like, I believe we are in an attempted shift from a pacifying, quote unquote, democracy that was actually always a oligarchy parading as a democracy into a technocratic surveillance state. And so you're being moved into that. They're attempting to move you into that right now. And so it is something completely different than what you've ever known, but it's using the Trojan horse of quote unquote democracy to move in. And so a lot of the way that people are engaging with it as if it's still a democracy, right? And so that's what's really fucking people up. So let's just separate from that, because people have all these like preconceived notions, and just say we are in a zombie apocalypse has happened. And every day, all day, life is about survival. Like, that's it. It's about survival. It's about getting enough food for your group.
Arc Raiders.
And surviving what's happening. Okay. I think pretty quickly people would understand that your energy is a precious, limited resource, and that we can't spend a lot of it on predicting how the future is going to go. Like, you don't even have, when you're in that state, you don't have time to be like, what does the future hold? We don't have time for that. We're surviving today. And today we wouldn't see reactivity as a virtue. If you imagine you're with a group of 10 people and you're trying to survive a zombie apocalypse and you got one person running around the compound you're trying to build, just being like, don't you understand? Everything is fucked. You would be like, that person's a liability. Like, we don't have time and energy for this. You know, it's one thing to have a feeling, but it's another thing to think that you are morally superior because you are trapped in reactivity. You're spraying energy all over the place. You're being very loud, energetic. And when you understand when something is closing in to take your power, it can smell that energy you're putting out, right? And so when you're in a survival scenario, I think pretty quickly people start to understand like stillness is important. Not numbness, not dissociation, but stillness. Like, you have to be able to, you're going to go into those anxious states. You have to be able to come out of them. You have to understand that you can't make decisions in that state. And you need to understand that you are not morally superior because you are trapped in a constant state of reactive disempowerment. I don't want a reactive disempowered person in the group if we're trying to survive, because I'm trying to survive. And so when we're in a zombie apocalypse, there has to be a pretty immediate acceptance that we're in a zombie apocalypse. I don't have time to talk about what we could have done to prevent the zombie apocalypse or what life is going to look like in 2 years of the zombie apocalypse. I'm surviving the zombie apocalypse. And that is the cross of sleeping phoenix. And that is the moment that we're moving into. We don't have a lot of time for you to blame everyone in the group for how we got to where we're at. We don't have time for you to be shouting all fucking day about whatever. It's like, what is the reality that's at hand? And how do we subvert the zombies? How do we subvert the authority? And subverting the authority isn't done in reactivity. It's done in quiet. It's learning how the thing moves and how to undermine it.
Yeah.
And you can't undermine it while you're in a state of trying to like convince everyone else how bad it is. It's like, it's now time to learn how to survive. And we are going to be, you know, it's a fucking construct of the cross of sleeping phoenix is shock. So nervous system work, learning how your body goes, your system goes into fight or flight, freeze or fawn, learning if you've been trapped in any of those states. When I did nervous system work, I learned that I was super dissociated for most of my life, stuck in something called functional freeze, learning how to move through those states, become aware of the fact that I'm in those states for the purpose of having resiliency when the shocks come. But I think what a lot of people are doing is going into reactivity and thinking subconsciously, if I stay reactive enough, it will change the reality. If I get stuck in it shoulda, coulda, woulda, it'll change. It's almost like the denial phase or like the bargaining phase of grief. You think that like, because this thing that's trying to take over is parading as democracy, which you have been propagandized to believe is supposed to be fair or just, you know, and I feel really bad for people that are just finding out that that's all bullshit. So for those people, they think that this is just something that's suddenly gone bad.
Right.
And, you know, I'd find a conspiracy theorist friend, I guess they can catch you up. And so that's why I say almost like, the thing that's trying to close in, you're going to have to survive the way that you had to survive a zombie apocalypse. Stop associating it with the things you associate it with, and it will be easier.
Yeah.
Because it is parading, because it came in on a Trojan horse of something you think you recognize. It's, which, you know, it's all by design. That's why it did it that way. That's why it's in a Trojan horse, you know? And so they know that the mask is falling off. They know that people are waking up and kind of seeing behind the curtain. And so they're trying to, you know, rush it in and get implied consent from the dum-dums and use the division while the division is still working. I don't think we have long before everyone realizes it's, you know, it's not your neighbor.
It's crazy to think about when you are activated in that state, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, how little like creative thinking you can do. How you can't think logically. You can't.
Right.
And to subvert something like this, you got to be able to think creatively. So like being able to be in that calm state, non-reactive, like quiet, as you said, that's not only, I think it's like a protective mechanism against that like weaponization to keep you activated and separate from everybody, arguing with everybody. You protect yourself from that, but then also it's the ability to think creatively and innovate or subvert is like where the Cross the Sleeping Phoenix, that's like, we have to build that. We have to be able to do that. It's not going to just happen.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Every day I go, oh my God. So when I first woke up, it was 2000. And then I spent the next almost 5 years in being taught things by the aliens in mostly dream states, hypnagogic states caused by doing meth and then sleeping all night. And the world and I would say 80% of what they taught me was, I guess I would call psychic self-defense, except for that I feel like New Agers say that, but it was a supernatural self-defense stuff. And all of the dreams were about a convergence of a hyper-militarized physical reality taking hold at the same time as a supernatural, less physical reality. The realm was turning into that. I'm just having this moment right now where I'm like, every day, it's fucking crazy that this is like physically happening. Because obviously, when I was having these dreams, I thought this was going to happen any minute, especially once 9/11 happened. I thought we were going to have martial law and all this stuff. And so when it didn't happen, I have just over the years been like, I guess that's like, I thought it was going to happen again in 2012. There seemed to be this like stirring happening. But after a while, I was like, I guess this is just like metaphorical, but like quite literally, we're watching it happen, right? It's like they're trying to normalize a federal police state that has no boundaries, and it's parading as a thing about immigrants, but it's always was going to be everyone. Do you know what I mean? The social contract of the cross of planning is over. Yeah. So like the fact that you're a citizen, not a citizen, one color, not a color, one gender, it's over. Yeah. It's over. It's this thing's trying to take hold. But so what I was taught was like how to use non-physical energy movement to survive. Like literally military people were chasing us. And so you would just be at a store and suddenly, you know, in the dreams they had like camo on. So they were like military police would suddenly just come in and they were like kind of targeting at this point. And all the dreams were like, everything was already on fire. I mean, I used to share these dreams a lot in the soberish days, but there was one dream because I was in Portland, Oregon at the time, where they were like, we will be up here in the clouds. And then Portland was completely on fire. And they were like, every once in a while, someone put their hands up. When they put their hands up, you pull them up. And eventually when there's enough of us up here, like everything will shift. That was obviously about consciousness. But then like quite literally, Portland was on fire for most of 2020. But they would like, most of the dreams had this kind of theme of like the military would like rush us all of a sudden in a store, and I would like levitate, and then I would always fall over while levitating. It was like dream after dream, trying to learn how to stay still. And the falling would be from overthinking it, right? And so the military guys would never know what to do. There's also like another trick where a thing comes out of the center of my body, but they were teaching me how to release that. And you can't be in the mind and you can't be afraid. And then we could make ourselves invisible and they couldn't find us. And then there was also like the military police people they're very attached to the material. And so you would get like downloads about things that they care about. And then you could tell them like, if you don't put that gun down, you know, this is going to happen to so-and-so or whatever. You could like access them psychically. And all the dreams were like, they're coming at you with only material. Like you're not going to win materially against anything militarized in the United States. Like it's
It's
you're not
more advanced than
physically
we think.
these idiots, these bootlickers, by the way, just absolute bootlickers, being like, don't tread on me, we have to have guns so we can stand up to a corrupt government, and then the government becomes corrupt as hell. But since it's like pretending to care about their interests, they're like, well, not on the boots, but anyway, your guns aren't going to do anything. I mean, you're not going to beat that way, the weapons wise. But it's this shift of like things become so supernatural at the same time. And really, this military is coming in. They don't know this. This military is coming in to try to hold you in the physical plane as reality becomes less physical. And so it was...
What a time to be alive.
What
dude.
a fucking time
It's
to
so
be alive,
cool.
honestly. But if you can be kept in a reactive state... I'm just now putting this together. This is crazy. If you can be kept... I did not have any of this context, by the way. So when the aliens are showing me this shit 25 years ago and I didn't have any of these categories of reason, I just was like, we're going to be like the X-Men. But I'm now understanding that like without nervous system regulation... That's why I would always fall over. That's why because I'm telling you, I've had, to this day, I still have these dreams, thousands upon thousands of dreams, probably at least 10 a month of this exact scenario, getting run up on by whatever this militarized police. And it was in all of the dreams, it was that the government turned on the people. And, I didn't have any of the technological, there was a microchip, like that was a part of it. And, I thought I understood what the microchip was back then, but I didn't have the context of like the way that they could use technology and AI now to like, it's just very obvious. The data centers, they want you to think that's ChatGPT. That's actually to just create a surveillance state. Like they're really trying. Is not going to work long term, but anyway, it was my nervous system. You have to be able to be still. You have to be able to recognize fight or flight and then neutralize that and come back into stillness so that you know how to access these supernatural things.
And in that stillness, I know like when I correlate this to being creative, being an artist, like when you're in that muse state and you're flowing, the intuition is so powerful too. Like, and I imagine that being very important in a psychological warfare scenario. And that's kind of what I'm saying is like stillness equals creativity and empowered intuition to be able to properly respond almost before something's going to happen. So you put yourself in the right place at the right time where it didn't happen to you or whatever that is. And it also brings up the idea of getting not only like fight, flawn, or whatever those 4 F's are.
It shouldn't be 4 F's. It's fine.
Is to not get too excited too, because that's like also in the state of creativity. When you get too excited about, oh my God, I'm playing this, it's so beautiful. Oh my God, you lose it. And so that's where like that sweet spot is. And I know when I'm in a spot of not thinking about it too much, my intuition is like so on point. I hear one little frequency shift, I'm like, oh, that's it. We're going that way. That's so good. Okay, next day, that. It's so never like it's hyper focused, but it's hyper focused on being extremely open. And I imagine that being just so powerful in a scenario that is this hyperdimensional kind of effect of warfare. It's all about your energy, your ability to control it, stay calm in a like very intense, heightened experience, to know, to be able to listen to your intuition and do the right thing. And it makes me think, I've been thinking about it a lot lately with our conversations the last couple of days, is Bruce Lee. It's just like it's what originally like was the gateway into a lot of my awakening experience, was understanding his stillness and the power that he could pull from being calm and still in his fights. And in, martial arts, it's like always a heightened scenario. You're in defense mode. You're trying to protect, you're trying to save your life. You're trying to defeat this person. So a good fighter is one that can like stay calm in a really intense scenario. And he was such a good representation of that, to the point, and he would be able to move so quickly and respond to what the fighter was doing. It was almost like he was getting there before they could think about it, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like when you watch videos of him, it's just like no other Marshall fart.
All right, we have an episode name.
Marshall fart. Oh, it's so good. God, I'm a poet.
Fight, flight, freeze, or fart.
It's just those F's, man. Woo. There's no other martial artist like that. It's snowing outside. Holy crap.
Oh, yeah, it's been snowing for a while.
When you watch him, it's like there's this, I think they called him the jaguar or it was some animal, but he's like the dragon, I think is actually what it was. I think of cats, jungle cats, because of that's how
agility,
they hunt.
yeah.
The agility and their ability. The cat is smarter than the snake. When you watch them fight, the cat moves just out of the way before the snake gets there. The amount of speed that's there is from them being so still and tuned in to the matrix, they see it happening before it does, or they feel it and read it. And he was doing that. So calm and so chill, like a stone cold killer, but knew what he was doing with the energy is what I think of. And it's like, it is a part of me I've talked about a lot on this podcast or like on my Patreon that I do get excited about as a gameplay in reality, is this living in a time like this where you have to kind of become this psychic Jedi of sorts and learn that stillness, and that's where that power is. And it's so effective against things we used to think were so impossible to overcome.
Yeah.
This corruption and all these things, it is impossible to overcome when you're trying to focus physically how to do it. They got more money, they got more weapons, they got all the secrets, they got da. But learning more and more like that, the psychologically and nervous system, you know, like working on all of these parts of ourselves and getting them in harmony allows you to be able to generate, you know, and navigate your own reality and overcome those things is such a cool idea of a time to be alive. But it's also like one of the most challenging things, because it's when you realize like you're in control of it all. It's like, to me, that's inspiring, because I'm like, oh, it's in my hands. I can do it, but it's so hard because it's so subtle and it's all your mind and your nervous system, you know?
The conclusion to every single dream is, I mean, in a lot of dreams, I don't, I chicken out, I freak out, I get reactive, I get scared, and I stop being invisible, or I fall down from doing the thing or whatever. But in every dream where I find that stillness, I find that power inside of myself, they retreat. They don't fight me. I don't have to go to war with them. I don't have to whatever. They get freaked out by the power that I exhibit, which is always, it's not external. I'm not swinging on them. I'm either invisible, I'm floating in the air, or I have just said something, and I mean so still that is just like, I don't know if you want to do this. Here's what it's going to cost you. You can keep coming over here, but your wife's name is this, your mom's name is this, your child's name is this. So I don't know if you want to keep doing this. Here's the consequences for everything you care about. And they turn around and walk out. They're like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's so good. And it, to me, is like what it represents is like, you know, you bring up the names and all of that, and that's all through the story. But as a metaphor, like in the general sense of things, if you're still and you're in your power and you follow that truth all the way to its most macro idea, is that you are the god of your reality, and you just grabbed hold of that monopole through balanced nervous system, stillness, assertiveness, and like a don't fuck with me attitude.
Yeah.
The reality moves them out. They literally, for no reason, turn around and walk away. However, we can add a narrative to it, especially in a dream. You're going to experience, I said this and this, and I did this. That freaked them out, so they went away. Yes, in the story, but also energetically, it's
all about me.
And it's magnetics. Like that villain can't exist with someone in the same room, in the same reality, with someone that just realized that they are the reality, and they move them out. And so then we see that in the physical as the story of, you told them about something that you could have never known, the kids of their family, and said and gave them a vibe that was like, oh shit, if she knows that and she's being this assertive, we need to leave. That's the story. But energetically, it's
because you're talking to someone who's in the matrix. So you just access what they care about in the matrix, but
Yeah.
you have to be released from your attachments in the matrix.
so powerful. God.
I've never saw Star Wars, but when I used to talk about this stuff when I was having the dreams back then, 20 years ago, people told me that there's a scene in Star Wars where he says, these are not the droids you were looking for. These are not the drones you were looking for. Like he straight up pulls up to a surveillance guard and goes, and he's in the car with someone they're looking for.
Yeah.
And he goes, this is not the whatever you're looking for. And they let him go because he's just hypnotized them.
Hypnotizing, yeah.
You would lose your mind if you knew how easy it was to hypnotize someone into not seeing what they're seeing. I hope this doesn't sound too pie in the sky, but like it's going to get to a point where it's literally the only option is you have to access, not to be like Bible quotey, but like the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're not physical. You're not going to win with the physical things, and you're not going to find justice in the system that is betraying you. You are going to have to tap into your own personal power, and the two things are not mutually exclusive. We do not have a descent of fascism happening separate from the heightening of consciousness. These two things are kind of a representation of each other, and the matrix is really kicking up in an area in which consciousness is trying to raise, because the matrix is trying to really, the physical reality is really trying to hold your consciousness in one spot. And this is in so many movies, right? Where the person goes, you don't have any power over me. And suddenly this person chased them through the entire movie. And all of a sudden they realize it was their belief in the power, right? Isn't that, what's that David Bowie movie?
Labyrinth.
Yeah. Isn't there a moment where she goes, wait a second, you don't have any...
And that's the metaphor of that whole movie. I mean, it's the monsters inside of you that are keeping you prison.
And that's like literally, and then that's kind of the final conclusion of all the matrices as well, is like the question at first is like free will, no free will, program, no program. And then there's this I want to watch that last one again, like secret third thing that is the program exists, but whether or not you are influenced by the program or you're writing the program is completely like up to you. So the nervous system is at the core of that. I'm defining nervous system work is understanding the nervous system and doing whatever work. I did something called SSP. It's cost prohibitive for some people, I think. But if you're interested in that, you can send me a DM to get more info on it, or you can just go to the nervous system folder on my free Patreon. But just getting to understand the nervous system and working with it yourself. And for me, just becoming aware of my nervous system and where it was and the sensation of it moving the same way that I feel, you know, my ears if they're clogged or my nose if it's stuffed up. I feel the nervous system as it's moving, and I've like spent a couple years observing what happens to my reality when I'm in those states. And also from the co-regulation perspective, understanding that when you're in fight or flight or in a reactive state, you will read to other people's nervous systems as dangerous. And so just being in that state is going to escalate someone who doesn't have control over their own nervous system. I think this is very important to know as we go into Neptune and Saturn and Aries. The potential for violence and fighting and like that kind of stuff is going to be higher. And I just had an experience recently with like one of my kids', I wouldn't say friend, but acquaintances who she's had some issues with, his mom. And she had revealed to me in one of our early conversations that she's pretty reactive. And so I'm always trying to de-escalate everything. And in my grief, she just caught me on a day where I was like, no, fuck that, you know? And me being like, no, fuck that. It's like, hey, I have something I would like you to consider though, you know, because I'm very non-confrontational, but just, it didn't go well. And so same thing, you used to be able to flip people off on the freeway. If you do that shit now, they'll run you off the road. Like all these social contracts are over. And so an expectation of civility, you should stop expecting that. You should stop fucking with people. You should really reel in your own reactivity and see people as dangerous and violent, and just assume that. You know what I mean? And so that will keep you safe.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy out there sometimes.
It's that's going to get worse. And so I just think it's better to look at it as zombie apocalypse. Do you know what I mean? And look at it as a thing that you've never experienced. You don't have categories of reason for what's coming. And release the attachment to going back to the way things used to be. Grieve that, in your spare time, and start to like look at the reality of what's happening as like this is a new thing. We're not, there's no amount of like bargaining that's going to change it. And then we have to get kind of sober in the moment of like, what is the reality that we're currently in, and how do we address that? And I honestly think all the work that you've done to get to know yourself and get to know how people work and get to know your own, most people listening to this have done nervous system work, and then, whatever tools of your toolbox you've been collecting for years, studying history or whatever. A lot of history is not going to help you because those things happened in the cross of planning, and they didn't happen in the cross of sleeping Phoenix, but, astrology is going to help you have like a weather map, like a kind of a weather forecast for the energies and what to expect. Human design is going to help you know which part of yourself to trust. But I think just kind of having a sober understanding of like what it means to survive is different. It's going to be different. And in some ways it's going to be more challenging. And in some ways it's going to be easier because survival is going to have more to do with energy and consciousness and less to do with material tools. But if that doesn't immediately click, then you might still be experiencing the release of that material thing. It's almost like the physical reality against the non-physical reality, not to oversimplify it. But I had like 3 other movie examples in my head for a second of like, if you imagine the Matrix as a dream you've been in, and the Matrix is not the physical reality. The Matrix is the narratives of the physical reality that are happening in the physical reality. But consciousness raising is consciousness elevating out of the Matrix. So elevating out of the program that you didn't write, right? But your body is still going to exist in the physical reality. I think we used to say 3D and Matrix interchangeably, so we think they're all the same thing. And so as you start to come out of that dream, the dream is going to do everything it can to keep you in it, to keep you in that illusion, keep you in that reactive state so that you can't find the stillness, so that you can't transcend that. And the service that you could offer people if you would wake the fuck up, because you still have access to people in the Matrix. You can still be of service. You can still be in the clouds, right? Those clouds are consciousness. And you can still be like helping people out, but not when you're trapped in a reactive state and thinking that you are virtuous for being trapped in a reactive state, or you're doing more is, I guess, what I mean by virtuous, Yeah. And that doesn't mean don't have feelings, but it means get curious about your feelings and understand that your feelings, there's a difference between this makes me sad and this shouldn't be happening, right? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like
an acceptance in one.
Yeah. I mean, I got some news about my dad that I for other reasons, I'm probably not supposed to share yet, but it was brought to my attention last week that, he would still be here if some people had done their job. And there's a real temptation there to be like, this shouldn't be, or to like try to go find, like resistance my way through this current reality by clinging to something that could have been. But like, that's just not how reality works. I'm here. I'm not on a reality where he lived and people did their job. That's not where I'm at. So, it's that sort of thing. It's like, I need to be present in this moment. And so I can be sad. That's a feeling. I can be sad that he died and he didn't have to die right then. But sad is an emotion. That shouldn't have happened is a narrative. The narrative is happening in my mind. The sadness is happening. And so a lot of times people can't tell the difference between a feeling and a narrative. And narratives will trap you in fucking pockets of the matrix and you'll get your ass handed to you. A feeling can happen anywhere, anytime, shouldn't be shamed, shouldn't be talked out of. So I am simultaneously gutted to find this news and in complete acceptance of the fact that that's the reality that I'm in.
Yeah.
So
it's so subtle, that difference.
Yeah, I would say that getting trapped in narrative of it shouldn't have happened is bypassing the feeling, because then I don't have to feel the sadness of it because I can hide in some false bargaining. You know?
And like I'm gonna get justice. I'm gonna end this person, and the narratives drum up like more emotions that can get you into that reactive, like you're not in control of your emotions.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what's the subtle part about it. Something I thought too just earlier, and it kind of ties to that, is that I know for me, I can get caught in feeling guilty when I know I'm in a reactive state, or like I get, bent out of shape. And maybe I'll catch it, not create too much damage. And then trying to accept that that happened, I feel guilty and I want to close it off and deny it, label it as bad. You were reactive. You have no control over your nervous system. But I think the thing it's having to kind of doing nervous system work, I think gives more of a buffer space in between when I get activated and being able to catch and go, I'm activated, and that's like the first step, which is really difficult when people are so habitually just getting activated. But then for me, it's been like not looking for a reality where I just am never activated. I'm fucking zen all the time. And this is my issue with like love and light people. It's like they just went from like fucking traumatized in the matrix and going straight to zen, bypassing any power of having the nervous system completely balanced and on height and like ready to do work. So there's this thing where you have to kind of get activated and to learn it,
Yeah.
And that's what I think I got caught in, like feeling guilty about that or feeling bad about myself. Like I'm still not, and then it blocks you off from being open and creatively going, oh no, okay, I'm activated. Accept that. Okay, why? What is the narrative? What do I believe I'm not safe? Why do I believe this person's bad? And then getting into actually adjusting that so it doesn't happen again. And it gets better and better, I would say. And so I'm just bringing that up because I think there's like a desire to kind of go from A to Z really quickly and like have that power, but going through it has been the thing for me that like really gave me the power of it, messing up again and again and again and getting better at it each time,
Yeah, the nervous system, you need it to survive. It's literally there to keep you alive. It's your survival system. And the things that kept you alive in the cross of planning are different than the things that will keep you alive in the cross of sleeping phoenix. And so I think it's also part of the reason that it is like such a popular topic right now, is keeping yourself alive in the cross of planning was keeping the tribe happy. So masking was a tool that we weren't living in an age of authenticity. It wasn't a great time to be authentic. For many people, just your sexuality could have gotten you killed. Your race could have gotten you killed. Your religious beliefs could have gotten you killed, And so it wasn't time to be authentic. It wasn't time to trust your own discernment. That's not what the cross of planning was about. The cross of planning was about assimilation and homogenization to fulfill a common goal, which I guess was capitalism. Thanks. And in the Cross of Sleeping Phoenix, your nervous system is wired to keep you honest and authentic because you personally, your instincts in the moment, the 57th is a construct in the Cross of Sleeping Phoenix, and that's about your discernment through like what you hear, the frequency that you hear. And so you have to equate honesty to yourself and authenticity and trusting yourself as what is going to help you survive. And so that's why a lot of people feel this tension between I need to authentically express and I'm terrified to authentically express, is because it's like their nervous system is stuck in kind of both states, you know? And so now is not the time to keep the tribe happy, because a lot of the consensus is walking off a cliff.
Yeah.
You need to be able to go like, no, I need to be my own thing. I need to do my own thing. I need to trust my own inner voice. What's good for you is not necessarily good for me. So we're in this kind of state, but that you don't want the nervous system to turn off. And so when I feel like love and light people, they're like in a freeze state. Mm-hmm. And so they're terrified of not being spiritual because they have feelings. It's all just very mental. And so you want to have very good survival instincts. And I think this all the time now when I see the situations that people get in. I'm like, do you not have survival instincts? Like, do you not have a spidey sense that tells you that energy is building right here? I need to get the fuck out of this environment, or I need to stop talking to this person like this, or like, I need to get, like, do you not have a sense that is telling you? And that's where a healthy nervous system, when you suddenly go, red alert, you know, something feels fucking off, you can trust that because you're no longer going into fight or flight over an email, right? And so that's the purpose of it, is to fine tune it so that dog, when that dog barks, it's because danger is here, not because the mailman is here. And you have to train it. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be as overt as training a dog, I guess, but you have to get to know it. You have to understand it. You have to understand your triggers. You and I have been doing so much work on PDA. We both have PDA, so we get activated by a demand. And, you know, the point of understanding we have pathological demand avoidance, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. We both our nervous systems are wired to protect our autonomy, is not so we never do anything we don't want to do. It's so we learn how to catch the activation, name it, and then let our nervous system know, like, this is not a threat. It's just literally we made lunch plans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's, I like the word fine tuning it. And you have to be able to like train it, fine tune it. It's like going in it again and again and again until you go, okay, now I'm getting it adjusted. And that's where that's hard work. Very subtle and nuanced and individual for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, if you're standing in front of like, you know, the kind of people who are attracted to, like, let's say law enforcement, typically have a really distorted relationship with power. And if you have survival instincts, you know, you will know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And fawn in that situation can help you survive. Yeah. You know, others, you're not getting out alive unless you fight. And so a healthy nervous system is going to know when to run, when to fight, when to freeze, and when to fawn. Like those things are keeping you alive.
Dude, it's keeping me alive in arc raiders like you wouldn't believe. It's so hard this last 5 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, so much good metaphor in the game for this. And that's how I've been playing the game, because you can easily, we can talk about arc raiders later, but it's so much good.
Well, let's do this because it's already really long. I don't want to get into any of the other topics that we had. So why don't we go to the rest?
I feel like it would be good, but we could do arc raiders instead.
Yeah. Why don't we go to the restroom and come back and just talk about some of the allegories in this game, because I think it's very applicable to this.
No, totally.
All right. Well, I feel like I ranted through a lot of that episode, but
No, those were amazing rants. I think that was you've been distilling this a little bit over the last couple days or weeks. We've been chatting and all that stuff, but that was like so concise and clear. And I do think it's this missing piece. For some reason, when words become like the new trend word, everybody's talking about their nervous system. I kind of get the word ruins it for me, and I start to just hear it go in one ear and out the other. And so when there's a really good applicable description, like something I can get my hands on and go, okay, let me try that. I understand why I need to focus on that. It being the main center of like manifestation of your power, it just makes so much sense on all these other ideas of energy and subtlety and dimensions and psychic ability, all of that.
It's my favorite thing in the world. I'm sorry. I am like, can't stop laughing at Marshall Fart.
I mean, that is really good. Marshall farts.
Every time I start to get serious, it's just like, there's like a voice where it's like Marshall farts. He was a master of Marshall farts. Oh. We have been eating a lot of fiber candy.
I'm going to be Marshall farting in a little bit. Speaking of that, I'm going to open this bag.
My favorite thing in the whole world is when consciousness concepts ground into like when you can put it into practice in a way that's not floaty, abstract, where I just want to shake people and be like, the fuck are you talking about?
Yes.
Though? Where it's like, this is exactly how this works. This is where it is. This is how you use it.
Here's examples of what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's what's lacking a lot sometimes on spiritual influencer talk or conspiracy or intellectual quantum. A lot of the stuff gets so abstract that I don't know what to do with it. I kind of come out of it
floaty
dumber.
And you can't apply it to anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's an art doing that. You're really good at it. When that shit hits, it's like you can really point to it directly. You know, concepts that are inherently outside of words. Distilling it down is it's so satisfying when it happens, for sure.
Thank you. Okay, so Mark has been playing this video game. Do we need to sift through any of your weird video game shame first?
No, it's fine. Okay. I play video games, dog. I mean, one thing I was really...
I was like, wow, really? We're just going to go straight to it.
I just feel like I've done it enough on podcasts that we didn't release, and a little bit on my Patreon. And I'm just trying to be honest about like my thing around it. It's embarrassing every time I talk about it because it's kind of ridiculous. I think I learned this time letting myself deep dive this video game and how much I've been discovering about myself and consciousness in the world that I didn't think would be in a video game. It's hard for me to judge other people when they have this special interest thing, no matter what I think about it. You know, the idea of adults playing video games has always been to me like, why do you're a kid? You used to be, you know, do that when you're a kid. You're an adult. Like, but it is just letting people go down their special interest because I don't know what the fuck they're getting from it is where I'm at now. And I've gotten so much from this video game. So
we're going to talk about hierarchy of experiences
still
in the next
a little
episode.
Insecure about the video game, I guess. Yeah. Moving on. So just real quick to give a premise, I've explained this on my Patreon. So people that heard it there, sorry to repeat, but just so you understand what the game is, because it sets the stage for all these metaphors. It's a first person kind of game, extraction shooter, I guess they call it. So, but the setting is in the future apparently, and it's in Italy, but it's in the future where the Earth has become uninhabitable because these AI, they call them ARC machines, started coming down from the sky and taking over the humans, fighting the humans. So it's this long war. Basically, the game starts after many wars have happened and all of the humans left on the Earth have gone underground and developed a whole society and a way to live underground and protect themselves from the Ark. And they're essentially just like AI bots. Cool side note of the game is that they they program those like villains in the game to actually be AI algorithms. So when you're playing against them, they adapt to what you're doing. There is no like program to it, like most video games where you figure out how the enemy moves and how to beat them, and then you can beat them. This one's far more intelligent. Like actually when you're playing the game, it's very difficult to fight the AI things because they seem to think autonomously. In any given environment, it's like different, you know, to most extent. But so the humans are underground, and basically the point of the game is you come up in an elevator, extract into the world. You go topside, they call it. And you're trying to go into the disseminated kind of apocalyptic world that used to be, you know, inhabited by humans, and whatever's left over, you're trying to grab parts and pieces of things so you can go back underground and build things with it, keep building the city. But essentially what you're doing is building guns and protection for yourself. So you can grab like wires and batteries out of cars, anything, they call it loot. In buildings, there's all kinds of like good loot, like really expensive stuff that you can build good weapons with or have better shields and health. But the whole time you're doing this, the Ark is trying to kill you. And you only have a certain amount of time to do it. Each time you go into the game, it's max 30 minutes, but you could come in at 15 minutes left. And everybody, all these other humans, raiders, are coming in as well. And where it gets interesting is like the point of the game is to just go get as much loot as you can and not die and get back in the elevator and go down before the timer goes off, which is essentially when the timer goes off, all the AI understands that humans are there and they're going to like nuke the place. So if you don't get out, you lose all of your loot and anything that you chose to bring into the game with you, which is guns and stuff that you've already built. And it's a high pressure situation because it's very hard to get in and out. And your main enemy of all the humans, the raiders, is the Ark. But so they would call this a PvE game, which is player versus experience or environment. So you're just playing the program bots. But it's also PvP, which is player versus player. So the raiders can shoot each other too. So you can...
steal each other's stuff.
Steal each other's stuff is essentially why you're doing that. You would kill them and then you get all of the stuff in their bag. The guns that they have, anything that they've collected or brought in. And so it creates this thing, you know, I mean, in a basic sense, you could say like service to self, service to others is an interesting way to split up. The PvP players are just trying to go in and get loot and they'll kill anybody for it. PvE is more service to others because you kind of protect each other and help each other fight the Ark. A lot of people like trade stuff. They find something really good they already have and they share it with somebody. So there's a lot of autonomy given in this game. Like you can play it however you want. And within that field of having the option of going in to get loot and just kill Ark or go in just to kill people and grab it, there's so many different other sub games that people have created because, you know, anybody's coming into those lobbies and the teamwork that can happen is really awesome. A lot of like heroic things, and it feels really good to, you know, be kind to someone, even though it's not required. But then it also feels really fun to play the game and go in and be a bitch and like try to steal things from people because you can get a lot that way. And so that's essentially the kind of background of the game. And why I got fascinated with it was I was watching it on TikTok and watching these sub games that people were developing within the substrate of Ark Raiders. There are people that have created like news stations, so they just go in not to kill anybody, but they have like binoculars in the game that look like a camera. And they just go around talking to people and saying, hey, we're just here to document. Can we run alongside you while you fight the Ark or you fight these raiders? We're just going to document it. And then they stop mid-fight and do interviews. And they create this whole thing. Then there's different factions of players, like the PvP players have created little factions of warriors that will go in at the same time and just fight each other and kind of take over different parts of the maps. So as I started playing, watching it, I was like, this is such a allegory for reality and what's going on, what could potentially go on in the future. You know, there's an interesting narrative in the lore of the game about where did the AI come from. There are hints in the game that the humans created the machines, and then did some of those humans take off, and now they're just trying to take over the earth, whatever. And so all of that was really interesting to me. But mostly then when I started playing it, I realized the different moral things that come up that are very applicable to this time. And the way the algorithm is programmed as far as players coming in, it matches you with whatever energy you're playing. So if you come in wanting to be aggressive and kill other players, you're going to be in a lobby of people that are doing that as well. If you start being less aggressive, it starts putting you in less aggressive lobbies. And so then online, I started seeing all the players, people that are loving the game, complaining either side.
So can we spend a second there? So the allegory there is kind of service to self, service to others.
Yeah.
So service to others would be like, here, the environment, the Matrix has given you a kind of natural enemy that you don't have a choice about, right? Like you can't decide to play nice with the Ark. They're going to kill you no matter what. So that's kind of the environment you don't have a choice about. Let's say in that scenario, we're talking about, I don't know, for Americans right now, it's the billionaires or whatever, the system. You don't have a choice. That's the environment and you have to deal with it. Service to self, the PvP says, I'm also going to like exploit my fellow man who's also dealing with the environment to get more, right? And so service to others is like, I'm also just trying to survive and I'm gathering things to bring back to this world we're collectively building underground. Service to self is like, I don't mind killing you or taking from you or fighting you on top of this in order like to have more.
And take advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is really interesting that I think correlates to our conversation earlier is the gameplay. So there is an argument of PvE players that just want to play the game in and go fight the Ark and work together. And then you have the argument from the PvP players that say that's no fun, that's boring, just like every other game. They like I think a lot of people are into streamers, into like Call of Duty and stuff, that are streaming other humans because you're dealing with the morals and the intellect of another human. It's more fun to play that kind of game than play a computer.
Right.
And so you have this battle online where like some people are wanting the developers of the game to change it where it's only a PvP lobby or a PvE lobby and you can choose. Now, I'm not a huge gamer, but why I got so addicted to the game is the pressure of the PvP, the service to self. What that provides to the game is a unpredictability that you constantly have as a pressure when you're just trying to go in to get a certain loot because you want to build this gun or you need to get more access into the game. That's basically what the loot gives you. When I'm trying to do that, I'm on like a mission, I'm having to also, every time I see a raider, talk to him, like, because you can talk proximity chat with them, which is super cool in general. The environment, like when they're far away, you can hear them in the distance. The closer you get, the clearer it is. It's very realistic. And if you see a raider, you have to talk to them to be able to assess, is this guy dangerous? Is he going to kill me? Does he know how much loot I have? Did he see me grab it? I'm about to get in the elevator. Obviously, I have a lot of loot. I'm susceptible here. I'm vulnerable. He might kill me. That unpredictability is what is so fun about the game. And I realized if it was just PvE, I understand why they're making that argument, because when I've been looting and I'm almost going to grab something and I get shot in the back by somebody and I lose it all, it sucks. You're like, oh, I almost had the ability to unlock more of the game and now this rat killed me. It sucks. But me being objective and being like, well, that's kind of fun. Like I now have to look and judge this person.
And it's really the tone of their voice, right? Because body
people
language.
People are lying all over the place. It's like, yeah, body language. There's a lot of body language in the character, actually. When you talk, it's talking like you. But people are lying all over the place and will befriend you and go along with you just long enough to where you're unaware. They've seen everything you grabbed and they take you out. And so you do have to sense in their voice, and there are voice changers and shit too you're having to deal with. But it's fun because you can read the energy in a lot of ways just through the audio of this game.
Yeah.
The game is full audio. Like, you can't, like, to hear a raider, you can hear them sneaking up behind you. You can hear them walking in the room, looting. It's all about the sound, and it's super immersive. But my point was, when you come across, I've been in PvE lobbies when you start playing that way, and it's fun because there's crazy teamwork, there's heroism. Sometimes I'll just save people when they're like almost out and they got attacked, and that feels really good. But there is a weakness in some parts of the extreme PvE players. They want to stay in their PvE lobbies. So if somebody tries to attack them, they go strict no shoot on sight. I'm not going to shoot you because that's going to show me that I'm aggressive, and it's going to start putting me in lobbies like you. And so they just go weak and are like, they get
Go
shot.
limp, yeah.
Sorry. And then they complain to the person. Just a side note too, when you get, what makes it so fun is you get into a gunfight or an arc and they kill you, they bring you down to a certain level of health where then you fall on the ground and you can only crawl around at that point. And you're still alive for a good 15 to 20 seconds unless somebody helps you and gives you bandages and can kind of keep you alive. Or they have a defibrillator which can fully revive you. So in those last moments, you're usually in a gunfight to get you into that catonic state. And then there's always talking, trying to negotiate, hey, if you defib me, I'll give you something, whatever. And so there's a lot that can happen in that last moment. And that's what adds this pressure to the game where PvE players are very weak and they just bitch and complain. You're a rat, you blah, 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 blah. And they resist the reality that has just happened to them. And they have no fight. And the PvP players are just no mercy as well, right? And so they're just completely like dominate. They don't care what anybody says to convince them or whatever. And for me, there is like a way to play the game that has been fun, that I kind of try to go in with the mentality of, I like the teamwork and I want to loot and play the game in that way. But if you come up on me and you start shooting at me, I'm going to fucking shoot back. I don't care if I start getting put into a algorithm like that. For me, it's like a moral thing. I'm like, you're not going to just get me easily. But you have to like start learning how the PvP players play to get good at fighting them, because they're really good. And you're in a different mentality when you're in there just trying to loot and everybody's friendly. You're kind of in a weakness. And so to learn how the predator works, you have to kind of get into their mind and play like them to a certain extent. And that's where it's like, that's why the game is so fucking fun, because there's that middle place. And I think people that have been playing a long time have figured out that's the lobby to be in, is the one that's in the middle, that's not super aggro. Every time I come in, I'm just shooting raiders. And the arc are just mosquitoes that are annoying.
Yeah.
The loot, who cares? Because I'm getting it from all these people I'm killing. And the PvE is just, like I said, it's fun to a certain extent, but it doesn't add the pressure, which is fun kind of tension in the reality that makes me grow and makes me learn how better to be aware of my environment, how to subvert it. And that's what I was saying at the end of what your point you were making a while ago, was that I started to learn to do that because I didn't want to get in fights, and I learned how to subvert it. So somebody would shoot me. If I have the ability to sneak away and get out and not have them kill me and not have to direct firefight them, I will. But if I'm caught in a situation where there's no other option but to shoot, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to come strong, you know? And that is where the lobbies are like most fun, is you have a bit of both. And then I realized in reality, it's the same thing of like trying to hope for some utopia where there's no resistance and everybody just loves each other and we're like perfectly blissful. In a macro sense, doesn't add tension and growth and desire to like expand and get better. And so for me, seeing that in the game, like I wouldn't play the game if there was no PvP. in this reality, like it's learning to understand the tension and the resistance as a helper for the activity of expanding consciousness, and that it's so important in some sense. And the best way to like do well in that game is to know how to read the room. And if I'm really at threat here, I'm going to take action and PvP and do that whole thing, and then get out, all the better. And so there's so much of the like stories that happen with people playing, and ones that are in the middle like that are such cool movies to me when I'm on TikTok watching them, the way that things happen when they're in this calm, what would be a calm nervous state. They fight better, they defend better, but they also have humanity and empathy in so many beautiful situations. And so, yeah, there's so many thoughts with that game that have been coming up about like what's applicable to the situation we're in reality. Nervous system is something that I didn't correlate until this conversation, but it's so applicable in that game.
Well, you were playing with friends of ours that had gotten traumatized while you took a few days off.
Oh yeah, that's like, I don't know if she listens to the podcast because it'd be funny. I mean, I would tell her, but yeah, I was playing with two people that had been playing. We were on vacation, our anniversary, and so I wasn't playing for like 4 or 5 days, and they had continued to dive hard into playing co-op. So it's like both of them going in, and they started. I guess they played with a third person at one point who was super aggressive and killed their lobbies.
So their let's say algorithm.
Sorry.
So their algorithm, when you hang, this is why who you hang out with matters, right? So playing the game with someone who plays the game aggressively fucked up their algorithm. Same thing with like, playing the game with someone who's in victim consciousness all the time is going to fuck your algorithm up for a while. And you just have to wait. Once your algorithm gets fucked up because you gave a bunch of attention to something you don't like, you kind of have to wait your algorithm out for a while because it's going to keep giving you things.
Remove the aggressive player first, set a boundary, get the victimized person out of your field so they're not affecting you. And then they have to go in and play the game 5, 6, 7, 8 times for their algorithm to get back to being peaceful or something where they're just not getting annihilated the whole time. So that had happened to them while I was gone. And then we got back into town and I went to play with them. And they were both traumatized, like seriously traumatized on the microphone. They're like, dude, I had so much in my stash. I had so much money and I'm just broke as a joke now. I got it all looted. We could not get out of those lobbies. They were so bummed. And so I was like, they were telling me the stories. It was fun. We went in and played a couple maps that are like typically more docile. But there's this one map called Stellest, which is in the lore, it's the pinnacle where the AI potentially was created. So it's like this science laboratory. It's all indoors, very tight quarters, very hard to like escape. And so that map, whenever you go there, it's like high probability there are going to be PvP players trying to take advantage of the situation, no matter how good your lobby is. Especially when you're in groups of people.
No matter how good your algorithm is. I'm just going to keep saying this for the purpose of the allegory.
Allegory, yeah. So I was like, hey, let's go into Salamantas because I have some quest on my personal thing I need to achieve there. I feel nervous going in by myself, so if we go together, it'll be fun. And they're like, okay, yeah. They're both a little nervous. And they bring in what they call like a free loadout. So you can just, when you go into the game, you usually have to bring something, a weapon. But there's an option where you don't get to choose. You just hit free, and essentially it gives you like very basics as you go in. It's very hard to fight other people, but you do that just so if you do die, you don't lose anything. But again, you're in a limited scenario. You only have so much shield, health, and all that stuff. So they went in with free loadouts. I came in packing because I was like, I got my boys with me. We're gonna be able to like defend ourselves. For some reason, they didn't communicate that. And we went in, and I'm trying to get my quest done. Within 3 minutes, we're getting what they call third party. Well, we were the third party. There were two groups, two teams fighting each other, and we got spawned in right next to them. And so we were right in the middle of their firefight where they're trigger happy. They see a human, they're going to a raider, they're going to shoot them. And I'm sitting there minding my own business, looting, thinking they got my back. And I immediately started getting shot. And so I'm on the comms telling my team, I'm like, I'm getting shot behind me. Where are they? And I start to try to run. And I turn around and they're both standing there getting annihilated, getting shot. And they went into they like started talking to them and they're just bitching, going like, oh, you rats, you killed us. And I'm like, guys, what are we doing? Like, so I tried to escape. I got killed. And we come back into the lobby like after the game's done, and I'm like, "Yo, what happened?" And they were like, "Oh no, we just didn't want to shoot back. We don't want to get our algorithm switched again." And I was like, "But I died, and I didn't know we weren't bringing anything in." Okay, so we laugh about it. We go back in. I bring a freeload all this time, and then we get put in a scenario where we actually got pretty far, and we're trying to extract into the elevator, and there was another group that showed up. And usually when a group shows up, you can quickly say, hey, I'm friendly. I don't want to get in a fight. Let's just get out of here. And you can reason, and then you also read energy. How do they respond? I read these other people as friendly too. They had big bags and they wanted to get out. They didn't want to risk it. And so they were communicated, yeah, no, it's all good. Like, oh, my buddy here is like, he's sketchy, but he won't shoot you guys. Like, I promise. And like, maybe a little hint of like, can we trust him? But my energy was like, we're fine. This is going to be good. One of the players on my team was like, no. In my comm, only where I could hear him was like, no, dude, no. We got to ride alone. Like, I don't trust him. We need to go hide.
Traumatized, right? So unprocessed trauma and in a reactive state.
And just no oomph. No, like, just grab a hold of yourself for a second. This is fine. If you read the energy, it's fine. And so I didn't have time to argue. So we let them go. As they're getting in the elevator, we're just hidden a little bit off to the side. I see another group come in trying to get them before they get out of the elevator, but there wasn't enough time. They were already in the elevator, and so they got away. But now there's another team here hungry for blood, and we're just sitting ducks, and we're hiding in like the main hiding spot that they're going to come check in a second. So I run back and I'm like, yo, first of all, I was like kind of out in the open because I was trusting. And I look, my team's gone, and I run back to that closet. They're like quivering in the corner. The equivalent. They're crouched down, like hidden in a shadow in the corner. And I was like, oh shit, what are you guys doing? They're like, they're gonna know we're in here. And so I'm like, oh God. So I hide in a little bit of a different like corner of the room, so I'm not in the same sitting duck space, and so I can get eyesight on them when they come in. And then my buddy's like, don't shoot them. Whatever you do, don't shoot. Do not open fire. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking crazy. I have the perfect line right here. Right when they walk in, I'm going to take them out. It's fine. There might be two other men, but like, what are we just going to sit here? You got to fight, man. Even if we know we're going to lose. So sure enough, this guy walks in, starts shooting at them. And then I open fire. I'm like, go down, bitch. Like, and I'm not super good at the PvP. And they had two other guys fighting. My two guys are sitting in the corner. So I kind of know it's 1 against 3. I do my best. I pop off a couple shots and injure a couple of them, but then I'm pretty quickly down. And so then another metaphor in this is actually interesting that occurred in the story is one of my teammates gets shot pretty immediately, and we're both down in that catonic state, just crawling around, and the last player was hidden enough in the corner and just stayed still and actually didn't do anything, didn't move, didn't firefight, just stayed extremely still. And they didn't realize that they were still alive. So that whole team comes in, I die, finally he dies, they loot our bodies, and then basically what happens, if you're one player still alive, you just go to viewing their screen. So now we're just viewing the last player that's still alive. And they're looting our bodies right next to them. And the team does not see the last player. And so we're talking to our player going, hey, just be still. They don't see you. Holy crap. They loot the bodies, they leave. And she waits long enough that then she's like, okay, I think it's safe. I can go to the elevator. And we like guide her out and like make sure just verbally saying there's nobody coming. And she totally gets out. And so there's like, that is part of it too. In certain situations, freezing, knowing that my best route here is to not fight. There's 3 of them. Both my men are down. Just stay still and calm, and maybe it'll pass. And it worked. You know? So And that's like that kind of, it's, the game's so fascinating because I was angry. I came back in and then was like, yo, the energy of those guys was safe. We could have made it out. I had a great loot and it's gone, whatever. It's the game. But like, you were so traumatized, like you misread that energy and it fucked us in the end.
Yeah.
And then for her being still, reading it and going, okay, my best bet is to just not engage. Don't even imagine there. I'm not afraid, whatever. And it fucking worked and got her out. So yeah,
it's also just good allegories. The no one to hold him, no one to fold him, no one to walk away, no one to run.
Yes.
Just keeps playing in my head because, part of being in your personal power is understanding what move when. You know what I mean? And a regulated nervous system is telling you how to survive. And the first thing you need to learn is what is actually dangerous to you and what is not. And, that's where like the reactivity of being like irritable with people in your house or whatever. It's like, getting over the shame of that and also understanding like my nervous system is detecting danger where there isn't danger. It's been interesting to me the more I've gotten to know my nervous system and the more it moves freely now rather than me just being stuck in a freeze state. When something happens, like someone cuts me off suddenly in the road, I get this physical pop sensation in my chest, and then this hot burning tingle that like flushes my face and goes down. And it's really interesting. And then it just is gone. And I'm like, oh, for a moment there, my life was in danger because that person cut me off and I got scared. But now I can like feel it in my physical nerves now. I never had that before. But I think how that would have shown up is it would have been like stuck and I would be irritable or like escalated for the rest of the day because it wasn't like somatically moving through my body. And so, I think that I think we're starting to see the convergence of what's happening out there in the reality and the reason we've done all this spiritual work. And I think that a lot of people, when things get bad in the reality, they're like, they want to hide in the spirituality or they want to reject the spiritual. I don't even want to say spirituality, consciousness. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, no. The reason you've been learning, and Aaron Drake Leah said this several times on my Patreon. The purpose of learning the nervous system work is so that you have the resilience when the time comes.
Yeah.
So that as reality gets more difficult, all of these things you've been learning are not so you get to wake up one day in a fantastical utopia that you didn't build. It's so that you have the capacity, the resilience, the flexibility, the tools in your toolbox to not only survive, but thrive and to be able to create something new, to be able to innovate something new.
And you need strong, the word rascal is the best to me. Alan Watts said,
Yes.
You got to have a tinge of rascality to you. That's where the strength of knowing how to respond when and not being afraid to do whatever it takes to survive and do the thing. There's a fight in that. There is a passion and a relentlessness that is actually far more stable and powerful than a reactive, I'm angry, I'm killing you out of vengeance and anger, la la la. That is it's short spurted. It doesn't have stamina. And this calm, assertive rascality, trickster element is long game and very unmovable. And that's what is that exciting time to be alive is we're learning how to be that. And you have to learn that by going through the fire of which is reality right now to squeeze that part of you out and really grab hold of it. And so it's it's always what I've had an issue with, parts of reality that are bypassing that and trying to be all pure and acceptance and elevate themselves is what if I slap you right now? What will you do? You know,
Yeah.
what can I shake the rascal out of you? Where's that depth? Because I want to know how you respond to that so I can trust you. If you're weak and if I start attacking you and you just let me attack you, like, how can I have you as a comrade in reality that's potentially going to be put into some tight scenarios? I need to know that you can handle yourself with that pressure.
It is really funny if you think of it in the in the context of a zombie apocalypse, right? Where it's like, we have a small group of people, we've built kind of a compound, we're trying to survive, you know, we have to take turns being the one that watches the compound, cook the food, someone has to go out and get the food, you know, whatever. And then you just think of this like crew you have, and you have one person on the crew who just is constantly trying to convince you all that it's hopeless and that there is no future. And they want to keep talking about whose fault it is that we're here, right? And can you think of just anyone that is like, can we vote this fucking person out of here? You're wasting our time. But then you also have like a good vibes only person who's like, can we talk about something other that, you know, you're like literally like, okay, let's build a barbed wire fence. It seems that the zombies like pizza. So maybe we could throw some pizza out there to distract them. And they're like, can we stop with the zombie talk? It's kind of like killing my vibe. And I feel like you guys are obsessed with the zombies in just a completely detached from reality way, you know? And they're like, I'm trying to manifest my way out of the zombie apocalypse by pretending like it's not happening.
If we don't talk about it, it won't affect us. The zombies aren't out there, guys. Don't worry about it.
And it's like the zombie just ate my best friend, and the good vibes only guy is like, you know, everything happens for a reason, and you're like, all right.
And this is also the issue with like overly empathetic, and this is a hard conversation because it's hard. But like in a zombie apocalypse, I don't want somebody that's like feels bad for the zombies too. You know, the zombies are coming to attack and they're like, but he's really sweet. And then they die and then they get into the house and now, okay, we have to deal with the zombies. You need somebody that like knows when to fold them, when to hold them. It's like, we're in danger. I'm not afraid to do what it takes to protect us and not like empathize with the
that one's going to be tricky because there is a supernatural ability of compassion, which is being able to read what that person's version of reality is that can act, because we're not talking about zombies, we're talking about people trapped in the Matrix, and being able to read like what is the story that this militarized police person believes, because you can then tap into it and
and so that's that's advanced psychological Jedi Wu Wei shit. That's like,
you have to be able to live outside of something other than your own addiction to your own stories. I don't know how many people are ready for that, but yeah, I mean, the Neptune in Pisces has been 13 years of, I call it debilitating empathy, where you're just overwhelmed with the merging of understanding, like not understanding. I think understanding where people are coming from would be healthy, but feeling everyone else's feelings in the most non-productive way possible. Yeah. So understanding that debilitating empathy, you can't even help them. You're just stuck feeling their feelings is going away. And now Neptune and Saturn at the same time are causing like this Aries energy is going to be about initiation and getting the energy moving and fucking doing something. But we're talking about Mars energy, where we've had Neptune on Neptune for 13 years. So I don't know how much empathizing with the zombies is going to be happening. It's probably going to be quite the opposite.
But there is a side of there's a side of me that I was stuck in for a long time.
I was going to say, of anyone I know who's going to empathize with the zombies, it's going to be you.
And that's why I'm talking about it, because I've seen it become a weakness in my life. It's a certain stagnation that you get into, and considering myself a what's the word? Starts with an A. Why am I forgetting it?
I want to say agropath. No, animus.
Animus. An agropath. Animus being like and it happened at a certain state of awareness of like consciousness and understanding reality that I'm like, everything. Why are you laughing? Everything is alive. Everything has has life in it, and so I would attach to physical things, and that manifested as like not wanting to throw things away that I've had for a long time that are broken and don't work. But I'm like, oh, but you're still here with me. Your energy is with me. Me throwing you in the trash can, imagine you going to a dump and like wasting away and disintegrating into something else is too much for me to handle emotionally. So I'm going to keep you here. And there's a certain stagnation, even when I was vegetarian, like, and really, well, veganism, when I really dove in, I was dodging ants on the sidewalk. I didn't want to kill anything until somebody was like, you know how many microorganisms and like fleas and stuff you kill every time you put a dryer on? You're thousands of them. And I was like, fuck, I'm not going to dry my clothes now. You know, it's like it becomes impossible not to kill something, or more looking at reality as like it's ever changing. It's living and dying at the same time. So things are falling away, but they're just going into a new form, really. So it's something that, like, when you emotionally over empathize everything, you don't want anything to change, essentially. And it's stagnation. Like, you realize, like, I can't move in the reality without feeling overwhelmed about stepping on something and ending its little incarnation, you know? And I think it's kind of a misunderstanding of the world at large, consciousness, the universe, what it's actually doing. It is this like beautiful, endless change, which at the top is all an illusion, right? But like, that's what gives it life. That's what gives us narratives, gives us time. It gives us this ability to kind of play the game. And so that's where I'm talking about. Like, I think I've seen that in certain love and lighters that become all zenned out really quickly. Like, there is not a one part of them that will ever hurt anything else. And I'm not trying to say it's like okay to hurt things, but you know what I'm saying? It's like in this way of facing reality and taking action in a compassionate, like unconditional, loving way is not frou-frou. Like, unconditional is the craziest word. Like, gets thrown around all the time. Like, it's all about unconditional love. And like, yeah, we got to just love everything. Unconditional is unconditional. So like, that means you got to love the most villainized person, the most villainized thing in the world. What does it mean to love that? It means to understand it and know where it's coming from, ultimately. That means not allowing it to do things to you that you would not deem okay.
Yeah, right. So part of the understanding is understanding the reality of what you're dealing with.
Yeah. And that there's a certain balls to that. There's a certain like rascality. I like that word that really, it defines that, where there's you're always on your toes kind of. And
yeah, the rascality of dealing with the systems of oppression could be really helpful.
Yeah. You toast, you grabbed your phone.
It's almost time. I felt like I was getting
pulled by a child.
All right, yeah, it's time to start the nightly, oh God, what are we going to eat for dinner ritual?
Mm-hmm. Oh God, I got a stink bug on me.
All right, love you, bye.
Love you, bye.